I'm also a candidate for the school district moderator. So I'd like to do a couple things. First, kind of talk about the plan for this evening. Secondly, share some news about the voting process, which will be slightly different on election day in a good way. And then I'll take 10 seconds or 30 seconds maybe to just talk about what does the moderator do in the school district, and also make a pitch for people to be involved in the political process, both at the school level and in the town. So first off, the goal tonight is for people to learn about the candidates. I would have loved to have seen more people in the audience with questions, but we'll do our best, and hopefully some people will see this on YouTube or whatever, and they'll get the idea. What we do traditionally, and what we'll do tonight, is for candidates that are here, you get about a minute or so to say something about yourself, whatever you'd like to say. We'll entertain questions, both from the audience or anyone who's here, and then sort of a minute or so to wrap things up at the end. If you have more than one candidate for office and we have a question, the question's going to get directed to each of the candidates. So try to make questions kind of general in nature, and I will do my best to kind of rotate the order if I have all the candidates for a particular office. For people who are not here, they did have the option of sending in a letter, so I have 2 letters which I will read on behalf of the people who sent them. So first off, let me share what I think is really good news. We were fortunate enough this year, at the end of last year, Trish McCarthy and our clerk, Mary Jo, worked together, found some grant money, found some money from the state, and we were able to buy 2 new voting machines to replace our aging voting machines, which with no expense to the taxpayers, which is a great thing. Now, I should say the federal taxpayers chipped in some, and the state chipped in some, but that's better than having to, spend the money ourselves here. We're also very happy that we purchased 2 machines from Voting Works. The Voting Works machines are one of the 2 new machines certified by the state, certified at the federal level, and I think it's a particularly good choice, 1, because it works very well, but 2, because it is an open source software machine made by a nonprofit organization. So instead of the situation where some company controls all the software, this is a case where you can actually go inspect the software of these machines. You can run whatever test you feel like if you're interested in how these things function. And that's an extra security level that you wouldn't have on a machine from other vendors that don't allow that. So I think it's a good choice. Obviously, we're still on paper ballots. Our ballots look essentially the same. They got the little marks around the edges. They're laid out a little differently, just graphics design-wise than the old ones, but it's the exact same process, fill in the dot. They're optically scanned when you put them in the machine, and other than that, the process is going to be exactly the same as in the past. So let's get on to the school first. In terms of school candidates, I do have a letter from Ken Hamilton, which I will be reading. Mr. Hamilton is running for school board. He's actually an incumbent on the school board at the moment. So this is a letter to the voters of Newton, New Hampshire, from Ken Hamilton of Newton. Good evening, voters of Newton. My name is Ken Hamilton, and I'm excited to announce my candidacy for re-election to the Sanborn Regional School District School Board. I apologize for not being here to speak in person. I have an employment obligation that has me out of town. For all your benefit, I promise to keep this brief. I have been a resident of Newton for 20 years. As a resident of our community, I am deeply invested in the success of our schools and the well-being of our students. I was first recruited to the school board 2 years ago when one of the school board members moved out of the district and was no longer eligible to serve. I interviewed in front of the remaining school board members and was selected to serve out the rest of that term. The following year, I ran for election to that seat, and I have now served on the school board for 2 years. The reasons driving my decision to run for re-election are the same reasons I gave when I interviewed for the seat 2 years ago. I'm committed to improving the quality of education in our district while remaining fiscally responsible to the Newton taxpayers. 2 years ago, I observed on the State of New Hampshire Department of Education's website that the Sanborn Regional School District was in the top third of the state in cost per student, while also in the bottom third of the state in terms of student achievement. I'm happy to report that the Sanborn Regional School District Administration has implemented new curriculum, and the results so far are positive. With regards to student achievement, I will remain vigilant and have asked the administration to provide periodic updates. The next and current challenge for the district is to continue to improve the quality of education while remaining fiscally responsible. With the Fremont students starting to roll off, the fiscal challenges are going to be even greater. There will be unpopular decisions to be made so as not to break the fiscal back of the taxpayers. I promise to do my best to balance the two and welcome any and all input from the community. Sincerely, Ken Hamilton, Sanborn Regional School District's school board candidate. So Mr. Hamilton's actually running unopposed. The other candidates, myself, running for school district moderator. It's a one-year term. And since in our district, the moderators in each of the towns conduct the elections, as you know, the only role of the school district moderator is to run the deliberative session of the school district. So that's what I do. The other races are the budget committee from Newton, Catherine Balukas. Catherine, your opportunity to speak. Please share your thoughts for a minute, and then if you want to field some questions, that'd be great. You're welcome to have a seat, whatever you're comfortable with.
I'll just, that's fine.
Or stand, or whatever.
My name is Catherine Balugas. I've lived in the town just over 10 years. I have 2 daughters in the school system. One is in 8th grade currently, and one is in 2nd.
If you could just swear up one of those.
Yeah, let's get a mic going.
Because they're recording.
We can hear you, but the recording, you could just hold on to it like it's a little tiny
For
mic.
the people who can't be here today. Thank you.
So I'll start again, sorry. So I'm Catherine Balukas. I've been in town about 10 years now. 2 daughters in the school system, 2nd grade and 8th grade. I have debated for a few years now getting involved a little more, and I decided this is probably the time because obviously watching my kids go through the school system, I've seen the changes, the complaints. You watch the town pages and hear the people chatter, and I figured instead of just being part of the chatter, it was time to step up and do more. So I am running for the school board committee for the town of Newton to try to see if I can, I guess, just be more of an advocate for the parents that have their thoughts, but nobody wants to speak up, and I figured the only way to try to make a change is to get involved. So that's why I'm running this year.
Excellent. Questions? Okay. Do you have any further thoughts you'd like to share, or?
I guess really, I've seen the meetings online, so I guess it's really just going to be, for me this year, it's just getting there and being part of the meeting and really seeing how they play out. You hear it, you see it on what I can watch recorded, but I just think it would be good to have, sometimes it's good to have input from parents in the school district versus, not that having anybody in town is bad, but having the kids go through it and seeing how it affects them and where is the funding going and the teaching. I would like to give input, and I figured this is the best way to give my input.
Thank you. And good luck. I think due to the circumstances of the ballot, you'll be very successful. So, all right. So we also have an additional race that's open. The budget committee at large actually has no declared candidates, and that's kind of a challenging thing because that includes both communities. There's the at-large elected person gets votes out of Kingston and votes out of here. Someone's going to win that on write-ins, and the only thing I will suggest to the public at large is if someone is interested in that, it would be wise for them to spread the word, because write-ins, someone will win, and one of the challenges as a moderator and the clerks we've run into in the past is we don't want to end up with some person who won who didn't really want the job, right? That just people thought of their name and said, hey, we'll throw that person in there. So if there is anyone in the community who's interested in that position, just didn't think of it earlier, great opportunity. Reach out to your neighbors, reach out to your friends, reach out to people at the school, other parents and so forth. And even a small write-in campaign is fine. That's great. So that's what's on the school. So we'll move over to the town. So in the town, we have a couple of, we have a set of races open. I'm going to just work our way down from the selectmen. So Selectman Mr. Marchand. Bob, you got a few words you want to say to us? Grab the mic. Take it from there.
Good evening, everybody. My name's Bob Marchand. I've been a resident of this town now for approximately 7 years. I first got involved with partaking in the governmental aspect of this was the planning board during the first stages of COVID. Nobody was showing up. Everybody was afraid what was going on. And I came in, I had lost the election. I came in third place, but yet I persevered. I showed up. I became an alternate. And that entire year, as I served as an alternate, I sat on the board for the planning board as a voting member because we needed a quorum. And I never missed a meeting. I became very dedicated to this town. I fell in love with this town. That's why we had bought the house. After serving as an alternate, I would see Mary Jo during the election. She would always post like what's happening today. As Bob had just said, there's an open space, nobody running. And I found that very disheartening. And so, like my predecessor, I wanted to stay involved. I saw things that were going on that I didn't like, things that I thought needed to be addressed properly, things that weren't being addressed. So I figured I would step up and I ran. So I am currently, my term is ending as selectman, and I'm not gonna stand here and say that I did this and I did that because that's not the way it works. What has worked is that we have, as a town, put together a good quality of men that are serving today. Unfortunately, there are no women on it, but a good core of men that have served, have stepped up. This town has had an abundance of people leave when COVID hit and afterwards, from retirement, from the finance person to the town administrator to our police chief ended up leaving. We had a lot of empty roles, and the select board, along with other instrumental people in this town, were able to keep this town functioning at a proper level and to keep your emergency services intact, even though we were at the point where we had basically no police on duty at night or the weekends. The ambulance service was almost only existent as far as our town was able to do. We had no follow-up with the other ambulance service because of what was going on. And we were able to correct that and keep those services up and functioning. And today I am proud to say that as a board, we have 24/7 police service, 365 days a year at this point. We've appointed Rob DeFrumery as the new police chief. We are currently working on a new financial person. We were blessed to hire a new Board of Selectmen Administrative Assistant, Robin Sparks, who has come in here, stepped up, along with our town clerk, as everybody knows, Mary Jo, and a couple other women in this town that have held the glue together for the Board of Selectmen and helped us to, again, ensure that you, the residents of this town, have received what it is that you're paying your taxes for, and that financially, fiscally, we've been spending it wisely and not just throwing it away on wishful things, as was demonstrated last year in particular, when we took a lot of the money, when everybody kept saying that we had an astronomical amount of funds in the unassigned fund balance. We took that And what we did is we used that money to put into different mechanisms that we needed to address. One was the cisterns, another one was for the towns and roads that we put in, and a few other things that we did. We also spent, I think it was $350,000 or $375,000 at the end of last year that we used to lower the taxes at a rate of, I want to say it was about $150 for every $500,000 value per home. So we were able to do that. The budgets we've been proposing, and Mr. Guide this year, without a town administrator, which we're looking to hire, Mr. Guide has stepped up from the select board. He's done an outstanding job. His dedication has been par none to what he has accomplished and be able to do with helping the board to put that together. He's also been filling in as the town administrator. So that's why I say between him doing that, Joe Aiello, Joe Simone stepping up, taking care of with rec and other things, Mike Conley with his business knowledge, helping us to be able to with that and try to do recruitments has been, it's unparalleled to what these men have done. And it would be selfish of me, like I said, to stand there and say I, when it's we. As you always hear me say at the Selectmen's Board, it says in the USS Constitution, we the people. I get choked up every time I think about that. And that comes from the service. When I was in the Navy, I always felt that way. We the people. That's why I always say we need you to step up, we need you to vote, we need your voices heard, because without that, we don't know what it is that you'd like us to do. And it's the same thing with the federal government. We the people. And my belief is I stand here to serve as a selectman, and it's not what I'm looking to do or what I want to do for this town, but it's what's required for this town, what the people of this town want. That's what I'm here to do, not impose my will, but I serve to impose the will of the residents of this town. And that's why I stand here on that behalf, to run to serve you, to be a servant of the people, by the people, and for the people. And I think that's where a lot of our government has failed and gone awry. And I would like to bring that back to the town of Newton and its residents. So thank you very much, and I hope, even though I'm running unopposed, that it's nice to see if people mark it off, because just a demonstration of their faith in what we're doing. Thank you.
Thank you. Questions? I think you answered everybody's questions. Thank you, Bob.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got a couple of other, I'm just going to run through the unopposed candidates and then we'll talk planning board. So Bill Landry's running for cemetery trustee. I've known Bill. Bill's a friend of mine. He's been doing it for many years. He's done a great job. I don't necessarily as a moderator give endorsements, but he's the same guy who's been doing it for a long time. Trustees of the trust funds, Jessica Turry is running. The Gale Library trustee, Paula Noon, is running. And for supervisors of the checklist, Susan Peterson is running. Supervisors of the checklist do a very important and difficult job. They take care of all our voter registrations. And they may sound simple, but on election day, at the last election in November, we registered almost 300 new voters, which, it's a giant amount of work. I mean, that's a giant amount of work. As a supervisor of the checklist, it's a huge thing. They did a fantastic job. So that's the people that are running unopposed. Planning board. So planning board is a vote for 2. We have 3 candidates. I know Barbara's one of them. Jordan Piper is one of them. Right, come on up. And I'm going to read a letter from Dan, who's not here. You guys may want to sit down if you want, and then we'll do it that way. Barbara, come on up. I'm going to read Dan's letter once you guys get up here. Dan says the following. Hello, everyone. Dan Bernard here. I apologize for not being able to attend tonight's Meet the Candidates event, but I'm away on travel for work. I did, however, want to give you all an introduction and a brief summary of what I'm hoping to accomplish with running for a planning board position. I'm currently working in technology at a global manufacturing company with a history in production planning and project management. My wife is an ER nurse, God bless her soul, of 25 years. We moved to Newton just over 11 years ago, and we have loved everything about it. Originally living in Lawrence, it was quite the change to move to town and be able to have real input on basically everything that the town was doing through our voting structure. The ability for residents to come to our planning board, select board, and other town events and speak to their concerns or support of agenda items has been refreshing. We really do live in a town where you can be heard and be involved in its future plans. This is why I decided to run for a planning board position. Firstly, this is an opportunity for me to give back some of my time to the town that has given me 11 years of enjoyment. I believe that I have the people skills to work with residents and their neighbors to provide the best outcome for their projects. I see that as a fundamental purpose of the board. Our regulations dictate what can and cannot be done, but I see our job to facilitate compromise in the gray areas. If our taxpayers all walk away feeling better, that's a good indication we've done our job. In closing, I plan to be in town for many years to come and really want to give back to the community that I call home. I'll be down at the transfer station the next couple of weekends, so you may see me waving. Please don't honk, as I startle easily, and he has a kind of smiling emoji. Just kidding. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me there. I really do appreciate everyone in Newton and hope that you'll consider voting for me on March 11th. Thank you, Dan Berard. So, since we have 2 candidates, why don't we just start off, we'll just take you in the order that you're seated here, brief introduction, and then we'll field some questions.
Sure.
So Jordan?
Hi everyone, my name is Jordan Piper and I am running again for planning board. I was on the planning board from 2022 to 23. I was on the master plan steering committee and currently serve as an alternate. I have a formal education in environmental science in which I studied geography and regional planning, which directed my judgment while I was on the board. I witnessed lot line adjustments, big development projects, site plan amendments, and home businesses. I have decided to run again because I do not want any business nor residents to go through what I did this past year. I asked that the voters show up on in March, and they would vote, use one of their votes on Ms. Barbara White. She is a valuable asset to the board with years of experience and solid judgment. Live free or die.
Mrs. White.
Not good at this. Hi, my name is Barbara White. I've lived here with my husband since 1999, and we really enjoy living here. I became interested in serving on the planning board after being secretary for the planning board and the zoning board in East Kingston for 15 years. It piqued my interest to serve on my planning board in this town. Okay, I felt I would learn more about my town and might be an asset by being on the board. I have served on the planning board since 2008, and I feel like I bring a fair and equitable opinion on applications brought before the board. I have worked my way up. I started as an alternate and went through all of the different planning board member, vice chair, chairman. At the present time, I'm mostly not able to come to the meetings in person, but about 98% of the meetings I attend are from Zoom. So I am at the meetings, okay? It's the charge of the planning board members to make sure applicants are complying with the ordinance and the regulations. No one member makes a decision at all alone, and it's a combined decision. If the voters wish me to, I wish to remain on the board. Thank you.
Thank you. Do we have questions for our planning board candidates? Would you guys feel better if I asked you a question?
No.
I have a question for Barbara.
Oh, that's fair enough. You can ask each other questions, but you're going to have to answer the same question if you're okay
Okay.
with that.
What was the hardest case you had to do?
What's the hardest case?
Yep.
Probably yours.
And my answer is my first one. It was the landscaper versus his whole neighborhood.
Okay.
I'll just throw one in. With the background for people who may not be familiar, is we also have the Zoning Board of Appeals. And so how do you see your working relationship with the Zoning Board of Appeals? In other words, when should something go to the Zoning Board of Appeals?
I don't know if I can exactly answer that. I just know there are certain things that need to go to the zoning board first, and then they come to the planning board. Like if someone on the zoning board wants to do something that's a little bit outside of the ordinances, the zoning board is the body of people who can make an exception. And then if they make that exception, then the person would come to the board, the planning board.
Okay.
I usually defer to the circuit rider we have. She's a great asset, and she seems to command way beyond anything I can wrestle with, so.
Fair enough. All right. Any other questions? Well, I guess I have to say, as a moderator says, seeing there are none. Closing comments from either of you or both?
No?
All right. Well, I want to thank everyone for joining us this evening. Well, I'll be here for a moment if anybody has any questions for me, but I think we're pretty well set. It's like record time. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.